data mesh concept, treating data as a product. There is definitely needed cross-functional cooperation.
Yeah, if organisations go down this road, the danger is you end up with a series of silos. Most shared services have most of their problems anyway, right? Potentially it could just be another way of creating silos.
Still, the enterprise level standards like data quality standards, data retention standards, data dictionaries on the company are very much far from the queue. So having your local dashboard, local team data like hidden processes and data sources that they are handling.
Real governance. We're talking about ESG now, governance, audit, quality, responsibility to shareholders and investors. It's breaking down all the aspects of a process flow, but it's like everything, it's fraught with danger. You got to get it right, yeah?
It has a huge potential. The biggest challenge is the change management.
In the last 20 minutes, Joanna, I've gone from being a total skeptic of this data mesh, thinking it would just be a data mash, right? And just a new sexy name for silos. I've actually become a convert, and I can actually see how this can work as a very powerful, positive tool. Welcome to the Spicy AI podcast, Control+Disrupt. I'm Mark Harrison.
I'm Joanna Miller, and in this series, we will be diving into AI, with a special focus on O2C and credit and the challenges leaders face.
We're here to ask the spicy questions that others don't ask, cutting through the hype and challenging the assumptions and exploring where AI helps and where it hurts.
Think of us as a Statler and Waldorf of the O2C tech.
So buckle up, because this isn't just another AI podcast. It's bold, it's sharp, and yes, it comes with a Scoville rating. So what's on today's menu, Joanna?
Today we are tasting data mesh.
Data mesh. Now this is a new one for me. Let's start at the very beginning then, as they say in The Sound of Music. And what exactly is it?
Data mesh is a data architecture that assigns data ownership towards the specific domains. For example, order to cash, to R2R, P2P, etc. It can be even further divided. So the aim of the data mesh is to create direct ownership, and data mesh is treating data mesh concept is treating data as a product. So each department domain that produces the data is responsible for this data.
Okay, so as I was thinking about this, how would it apply in our world? I guess I was kind of thinking an example would be around, say, like the credit policy, right? So you got input from sales and marketing and customer service and supply chain and finance and credit, right? So you got 6 different stakeholders there who all come together to create the credit policy for the company, right? Would that be a reasonable example? For the data mesh.
For the data mesh. So, well, the ownership, obviously, in the data mesh structure, when it goes to data itself, is divided in this case, because, well, credit is the part of order to cash sales, not necessarily. So it depends on the structure. But anyway, in the order to cash, even if credit belongs to order to cash, so credit analysts are responsible for credit, cash is responsible for the cash product, etc., etc. So there is, when it comes to the creating credit policy, as well as the data management and consolidation, verification of the data across, there is definitely needed cross-functional cooperation, and this is exactly one of the challenges that data mesh brings. Exactly the cooperation. Aside from the others, that is training, because well, in the standard SSC environments, the structures or departments, domains, aside from, like, let's say, order to cash and sales that need to cooperate because there is a revenue generation flow, then actually domains work separately. So they do not are not that much aligned in the cross-functional cooperation. Many times, even within order to cash, we can see silos. So
That's the
cross-functional cooperation. Yeah,
that's the danger, isn't it? With
that's
if
the danger. Yes.
yeah, if organizations go down this road, the danger is you end up with a series of silos, which we know is where most shared services have most of their problems anyway, right? Because they work in
Yes.
tiny silos. So this is like it potentially could just be another way of creating silos. So I think that's a real danger, has to be avoided.
Yeah, and those actually, if the silos exist, so many times, like a shared service center model is based on the specialization. The optimized for speed, for throughput. So many times the people from the certain value stream, we can call it domain, doesn't have a cross-functional knowledge because they are optimized. So the optimization goes for the transaction. So I am paid for do, I don't know, 30 credit assessments today or 50 calls to the customers. So there is a real challenge. Is a cross team cooperation, is a knowledge level cross functional. So that requires training. I am not mentioning about data standards, data policies, restriction regarding the data retention policies, because all this ownership in the data mesh structure goes down to the domain. Obviously, there are also benefits that can be easy spotted towards to the centralized data structure.
Most definitely, because I think I mean, like we kind of exacerbated the potential pitfall straight away of creating even more silos. The flip side is if it's done effectively, it's a great opportunity to have, as you said, have this cross-functional team with a good knowledge, not just a small process knowledge, which comes back to a recurring theme that now we're on our third podcast together. The
Mhm.
recurring theme again is governance and training, right? And that comes up all the time, and I don't think we're going to stress it enough as we go through this series, right?
Probably not. So the data mesh, in fact, can bring, if implemented, obviously correctly, meaning with still the enterprise level standards like data quality standards, data retention standards, data dictionaries on the company level, cross-functional data governance committee. It must exist because everyone needs to follow the same standards to be able later connect the data. Because after all, the enterprise level need the 360 view, need the consolidated view. So even very often, like I've seen various, let's say, articles, whatever we call article, various information flowing, and data mesh very often set against the data warehouse.
Hmm.
This is not against the data warehouse because this is the structure, data architecture, and the, let's say, data stewardship concept, rather than something that goes against the enterprise level centralization, because we still need one P&L, one balance, one customer 360 view, and there is like a maybe there are different data retention policies across, but let's say from audit perspective, we also need one view. And actually, like decentralized ownership and setting the local dashboarding under the condition that obviously the global policies are followed. This has the benefits because you have faster access to new features building, new reporting development, because you are not going to the centralized data team that have like queue of 100 requests and half of them from CEO, COO, and all the C-level people that are naturally prioritized. I would do the same if I would lead the central data team. And the requests from the domains are very much far from the queue. So having your local dashboard, local team data access, you can better manage the data and better actualization, error spotting, error correction, and also if you are responsible, so if the domain is responsible for its own dashboard, its own data, then they will map out all the hidden resources. I am thinking Excels, G Sheets, and some, like hidden processes and data sources that they are handling.
Oh yeah, you got
Because,
your shared drives, your spreadsheets,
yeah, yeah,
your ERPs,
yeah,
your CRMs. It's all over the place, isn't it? So, and
exactly.
as you were describing it, I was thinking more about how it's a force for good. Um, if we take the whole sort of, well, order to cash section, right? Um, and you're saying if each mesh is part of that
Mhm,
chain, then
mhm,
and there's local ownership of each section of the
mhm.
dashboards and the measurements and so on. So in theory, if one of the meshes is master data, so data entry, which then leads to invoicing, which then leads to invoice disputes, which then leads to collections and cash allocation. So if you've got five sections there, and each mesh is responsible for one of them, that can only really drive up the standards. Because if you got, particularly because we all know that all invoice disputes, fact, all start
Mhm.
really at the point of data entry or incorrect
Yeah,
data entry, apart from goods that are lost or damaged in
yeah,
transit, right? But other than that, it's always an admin error, isn't it, really?
exactly.
So
Yes.
so I can see how that's a force for good, and it's pushing the standards right upstream, right to the very
Mhm.
beginning. So well, you can even go beyond order entry to the quality of the sales quotations that are sent in the first place. So it's going to illuminate the errors and should drive down disputes. So from a customer experience aspect, it sounds like a bit of a belter.
Yes, if
Yes.
everyone follows the data dictionaries. So there is always but. So mesh, when we think like this about that you place the ownership to the data producer. So sales rep is responsible for the quotation quality,
Mhm.
for reflecting the correct data accordingly to the standards. So then you will not have a comma instead of dot in the prices. Let's say you will not have payment terms unclear, etc. Under the condition that indeed sales team has and accepts this responsibility. So I am mentioning sales because,
So
working many years in order to cash, that's always very, let's say, a burning relation, full of love and hate, depending on the credit limit level. So I know how sales in general is willing to be
but it's not
uh,
not only sale. I mean, yeah,
that attention to detail.
sales are the traditional, as you said, the rivals, if you like, for because they
Yeah.
want to get things done, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the other area where it might rein people in is kind of in treasury and so on, where you got this revenue, is drive for revenue recognition, whatever
Yeah.
the cost, right? And I know this also firsthand. Let's just get the revenue on the P&L at month end, quarter end, whatever, and then if it is full of disputes, we'll sort it out later, right? Um,
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's always been the way, at least month end, we got to get this in, but it's wrong, Did you know what the actual price is? No, we'll do it, we'll sort it out some other time. So we get the revenue and the sales guys get their commission. I mean, to me, I think, and really coming back to real governance, we're talking about ESG now, governance, audit, quality, responsibility to shareholders and investors. This really sounds another aspect where leading, modern technology, AI, it can be is a force for good because it's breaking down all the aspects of a process flow. Like you said, if it's done properly with cross-functional management and so on, then it doesn't create silos and it's building a whole nice flow right from beginning to
Mhm.
end. In our case, literally from the point of quotation through to cash collection or cash allocation even, right? So that sounds good for me, but it's like everything, it's fraught with danger. You got to get it right, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So it has a huge potential, but also what from my perspective is the biggest challenge is the change management, because like referring to the shared service center structures that well, I have a pleasure to work the majority of my life for. This is not a standard approach. So we got used to the centralized responsibility being front and changing the mentality of the, like a, let's say, entire processing team in cash up in billing in sometimes credit also functions like a, like a RPA.
Well, yeah, but but normally that's because the business units make it that way because they won't change. So I mean, I know, and you've seen this as well in my time as, EMEA credit manager for big multinational shared services. Every country does something different. So you're constantly bespoking, so you get very little opportunity to centralize, which is really the whole point of shared services models from 40 years ago was to standardize across countries as much as I think this is a great opportunity because if you take this mesh now and you take it country by country, like I was responsible for 15 countries at one time, and then you start to bring it together and you compare, like I said, the order entry, the invoicing, the disputes and so on. When you start to have mesh upon mesh, so I'm kind of visualizing like a giant honeycomb. You start
Mhm.
off with one country
Yeah,
end to end, then the next country, then the next country, and you end up with this huge kind of, I said like a honeycomb, all connected,
yeah,
all
but
hexagonal and perfect and aligned
mhm.
and so on, but all for the common good of making one thing. And then when you have all these dashboards at each level, the real kind of variances will start to show. Why is it better in France than the UK or whatever? Why have you got such a variation or you got such a variation? So I mean, this is what should be happening in shared services anyway. This is just kind of the latest way that these comparisons can be done. But as everyone's kind of going down this road, it's
Mhm.
and going back to our point before, if it's done properly and with proper cross-functional understanding, it's a very exciting opportunity and
Yeah,
another opportunity for people working in credit O2C today. This is where they can head towards in their careers, so long as they got a very good grounding of the whole thing, not a little silo, not cash app or
mhm.
collections or this, but the whole kind of cycle, which is what we do. Then their next career move is incredibly exciting. Still working in credit, but building the technology future.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely the opportunity. The local ownership. We just need to count on it. Then we need a mindset change for the people to take care about the data, to not to think that IT will fix, will clean, will do everything. But I am responsible. What I am placing in ERP, CRM, wherever I need to follow the quality standards, the definition, and everyone needs to understand the data the same. People need to adjust to make the documentation to own what they produce, like by domain, and be, then that should become part of the domain performance review, like the responsibility in the real meaning of it.
And the advantage of technology today, because what we're talking about is nothing new, right? You should be measuring these things anyway, right? Right first time, like you have in manufacturing, on time in full and all the rest of
Yeah.
it. This is nothing new. This has been going on for 100 years or more. The
Mhm.
advantage of technology today is you can measure huge amounts of data in very quick time. That's the difference between today and when we used to do it by hand 40 years ago or whatever. This is the difference, right? It's taking a whole set of data, millions of bits of data, transactions, whatever, and being able to analyze it in quick time and create dashboards, more or less whenever you want them. Um, Once again, Father Time has beaten us to it again. I must admit, in the last 20 minutes, Joanna, I've gone from being a total skeptic of this data mesh, thinking it would just be a data mash, right? And just a new sexy name for silos.
Mhm.
I've actually become a convert, and I can actually see how this can work as a very powerful, positive tool. So there we go. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion today. Please contact Joanna and myself to discuss, how we can support you in our voyage of discovery. Next up, we're going to explore all things
Hallucination.
hallucinations. Yes, indeed. Until then, keep your AI spicy. See you soon. Cheers.